Welcome to our next episode of
Fandom
Family
Chats.
This is a production of Family Fan Clubs on Facebook. You can find us all over Facebook. You can find us all over social media under Fandom Family Chats. Look us up, get dialed in, get plugged in, and get ready to listen to some crazy people talk crazy stuff. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Maureen.
I'm Eve.
I'm Bethany.
and I'm Jeanette.
And tonight is a night we are all very excited for. In fact, we have a team that is jealous of us for because they also want to be on this podcast and could not be tonight. So we are talking Stranger Things tonight, our very first Stranger Things episode. We are talking season 4. We know there are 4 seasons, and we're not going to really touch on the first 3 because that was a long time ago.
It happened like 10 years ago, right? Yeah.
So we're just going into season 4 tonight. We'll do some comparisons and our thoughts between the 2 shows, but we have a new Stranger Things group. So if you have not noticed that, check that out. It's Stranger Things Hawkins Family Fan Club, right? That's the name of it.
That's the name of it.
So we are excited to dig into this. And I think what we're going to start off with this week is there are some new characters. We've had the same characters for a lot of the first 3 seasons, and every season they seem to add in a character here and there. But we had a lot of new characters in this 4th season, I think.
Yeah, we did. We definitely did. Yeah, I mean, our new characters, there were some really great ones, and there were some not so great ones. Definitely on the great list, Eddie. Of course. Argyle.
Eddie's my favorite now.
You know, he was a funny, nice comic relief. Didn't
Liked
really bring
Argyle.
much else to the story.
But that's necessary. The storyline was so heavy. You needed Argyle.
Mm-hmm.
He
No, I
was
agree.
just so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were in some serious stuff, and then all of a sudden Argyle's like, "Whoa, man!" I'm like, "Oh my gosh, how is he still high? They've been on the road for hours."
I
The
love
good stuff.
one of my
apparently.
favorite scenes is when they're looking for 11 and they're trying to find the coordinates. And he's just wandering around the desert where clearly no civilization around, just screaming Nina.
Nina. But he finds her, right?
He does. It's him. He recognizes the mentor. So I hear a lot of people say he was unnecessary. I don't think that's true. I think he was a necessary character for the show, especially for this season.
It was a very dark season.
Mhm.
Like compared to the other 3 seasons, it was much darker in comparison. So it was nice to kind of have that little bit of, pity.
And I think Eddie brought both of those things.
Oh, for sure.
Because at first you're like, oh, is he going to be a bad guy, a good guy? But then you got to know Eddie. And there are so many times in serious scenes, he made me laugh out loud. That one where he's like, Christy, wake up. I don't like this. I really laughed out loud. And it's obviously she's about to die. So it's not like it's a funny scene. But he brought that.
Mm-hmm. My favorite scene with Eddie, I think, or one of them, is him with Erica, which I know Erica is not a new character, but I feel like this season we got to see Erica like in the mix of everything. A little bit, in season 3, but but when they're like going at it, like at that like battle or whatever they're doing, their Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know what this is called. But like that scene with those 2, I think was so funny. And just the way he was, kind of like, I mean, he loved her at the end of her little, snarkiness. So
I think that was like the defining moment for Eddie, because like that was a moment that you realized, because if he was going to be a bad guy, if he was going to be a problem, even if he wasn't a bad guy, just a problem, I think he would have reacted so differently. But his reaction and his like acceptance of that win, and when like, hey, that's why we play this game, I think that just kind of like defined Eddie and who he was. And that's when you realize, like, no, this is a good guy. Like, he's got a heart of gold. He may look rough on the outside, but little did we know how deep that was gonna go. But I love that moment. It just kind of like, that's when you were truly introduced to who he truly was on the inside.
no, I agree. And I think his interaction with Chrissy, which is another one of our new characters who unfortunately we didn't get to see for very long.
We're going to get a lot more of her.
I really liked her. And I did hear a little that apparently they filmed her death scene before they had the scene with her and Eddie. And they did not realize the chemistry that those 2 would have until after. And I've heard like interviews with the Duffer Brothers that they kind of regretted what they did because after they did that scene, they were like, whoa, this could have been like something really cool. But they had already filmed and written in her death scene and all of that. So
Wow. I like Josh's theory, and I don't know if we want to dive into this now or later, how much you want to go into it, but his theory about 1983 being Stranger, the Upside Down being in 1983 and how that could play. And, you know, I kind of like that theory because then that means that there's a second chance for every character.
I do too. And I think anything's possible. I mean, I know we're going to talk about this a little bit more in our predictions, you know, after we discuss everything, but yeah, I agree. I think there's so many possibilities with where we can go with this.
And I think even though we have these characters that were so good, that brought so much, there are some characters like Eddie. I feel like he had a change in the show. He had even though it was one short season. I mean, the amount of people who are Team Eddie is insane. And we got one short season. So we watched this whole arc from one end to the other, but there are other new characters who they did not get better.
No. I mean, there was, before we dive straight into the ones that didn't, Enzo, I feel like is slash Dimitri. I don't know, like I think his real name's Dimitri, right? But like we call him Enzo.
I love Enzo. I love that
he's
guy.
Another one that, I mean, in the beginning you think, oh my God, he's terrible. But I think he made it like kind of an arc, even in his short period of time too, that you do realize, because I wasn't sure about him. I was like, am I allowed to like him? I mean, I liked him a little bit because he's the man with no face from Game of Thrones and absolutely adore him from there. So like, I wanted to like him, but I was like, can I like him? And by the end of it,
he seemed kind of sleazy at first. Like he didn't actually care about anybody. He just wanted the money.
Exactly. But I think by the end he was, you know, he obviously was. I mean, he fought with them, and you know, it may have been self-serving still, but I think
still he aimed to protect too while he was fighting. Though it wasn't just about him then.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And even Yuri had a change.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, by the end, I mean, next season, if we see Yuri again, I think he could be one of the good guys by then. So
at least he's not going to be a stumbling block, you know. It
exactly.
But I can tell you, like, the new jocks, and of course, several of them are gone now. So
several, didn't just one die? Oh no, that's right.
Jason got right in half. I want you to know that the first time that I watched this,
I blocked that from my memory.
I was so focused on Max and Lucas and what was going on. I had no idea Jason died until somebody mentioned it on TikTok, and I was like, wait, he did? And so I had to go watch it. When I rewatched it again with you all, like when we were getting ready to start the group, I was like, oh crap, he did. Like I didn't see it the first time because my mind was so focused on Max and Lucas that like I didn't even see it happen.
There's not a lot that my husband, because this is the one show that my husband watched all with me, and neither one of us was allowed to watch it with the other one in the room. We just weren't allowed. I made it 3 episodes into the first season. Then he was like, so you want to watch it with me?
Aww.
And then that was it. I was allowed to watch it on. But that was one scene where he was like, he went, oh damn, when Jason got disintegrated as it went through. That was one where that was the only reason I noticed it. Was because he yelled out loud and I was looking for what he was talking about.
Yeah. Oh, I was so happy. I was like, that's what you get. Like, this is why Max is in the shape that she's in, because of you.
That dude sucks.
Awful.
Worse than him though. And those jocks were terrible. I wanted to throw punch them every time they were on the screen. I really, really did. But there was somebody worse than them.
Angela.
And
this is where we're going.
Yeah. We also have to talk about Logan Allen, who I hate that I had the feeling of throw punching him.
I'm really disappointed in him. I feel like we need to talk to Logan again, and I need to express, like in my mom voice, how disappointed I am in his actions. Like this was not okay.
I was very upset. Because I was prepared for it because you guys mentioned he was in it and his character was
very un-Kyle-like.
Yeah. So I watched
Logan-like, even.
Like, oh look, there's Logan. Oh wait, we don't like him. I don't like him.
No.
I thought we knew him better.
I was so upset because when I knew he was going to be in the new season, I was like, oh yay, because we all know that we love Logan. We've talked to Logan a couple of times. He's the sweetest kid in the world. And so I was so excited. And then I was like, wait a minute, I don't like you. You're really like, not only, I mean, you're not just like a little bit of a bully. Like you're being really mean to Elle. And your girlfriend is being like insane to her. She deserves that skate in the face. I'm going to go ahead and throw that out there. I don't care to say that.
She deserves more than that.
I didn't feel bad about that at all. It happened. I said, yay. And then Mike and Will are standing there, I'm like, can somebody cheer for her? Like, that was really awesome.
This was
Hey,
like
but
a
the
slow
response
clap
was, "What
moment.
did you do?" Like, how are more people not excited and grateful that this girl just got a skate in the face? I don't
Exactly.
understand this.
I mean, she, it wasn't even just about the bullying. She made fun of Elle's, at the time we thought, presumably dead father. Like, how do you do that? What kind of person does it take to do something like that?
And it was constant, malicious, verbal and physical abuse that they were throwing at. They didn't let her rest.
Yeah.
It was constant. I mean, that's going to get to anybody.
I mean, you're lucky Elle didn't have her powers.
I was
Right?
thinking, tried to use them, and I'm thinking, wow, if she had them, I mean, they pushed her to that brink. I mean, she literally would have just eviscerated all of them, like, because she literally tried to do it. Maybe a part of her realized it wasn't there, and she just was acting on instinct. But like, if she had her powers, I mean, she would have gone for it. It's crazy to think that.
Did anybody else sort of hope that was the moment the powers came back?
I did.
That was me.
I was very convinced that was the moment that I was like, oh man, this is bad.
it was such a cringe, like, worthy scene though. I literally covered my face like, oh no.
I might have cried a little bit.
I was so embarrassed for her. I was like, no, Elle, that just made things so much worse.
I did cry when they had her in the center of the rink.
That was so mean.
Like, and Ella, she doesn't do anything to anybody. It'd be different if she was a jerk or she was some weird, person who interrupted everyone's lives. But she didn't do anything to anybody.
Yeah.
I get mad every time I think about them.
Yeah. I mean, these bullies put the bullies from like season 1 to shame. Like, they look like angels compared to these California bullies. Like,
I hope that they get transferred to Hawkins and then fed to Vecna.
Right?
Or Elle can just evaluate them. Either one will do.
Well, you know that they're still alive, living their lives in California like the queens and kings that they think they are. And that makes me angry.
I know.
They shouldn't live, she said nicely with her.
Now with like a giant scar on her face, because that was a nasty wound. So maybe there's a little bit of payback there.
From like here to here, that would be great. Just one big diagonal.
Every time she looks in the mirror, she can just think about how, like, she shouldn't have made fun of somebody.
Oh, she's not gonna think that.
I mean,
that girl has no redeeming qualities to her at all. She's gonna think, oh, I should have killed her when I had the chance, so I didn't have this ugly mark on my face. That's what she's gonna think.
You know what I love though, like, and not like love, but I mean, just this made me think about that scene in the rink this season. And I mean, it just popped in my head. There are so many relations to like old movies. In this season in particular, like, that's, I mean, straight out of a scene from like Carrie, kind of the way when she gets all that dumped on her, and then like, oh, there's just so many more that I really loved that aspect of like throwing back to like all my favorite movies.
Another new one this season, wasn't Freddy Krueger in?
Yes. Oh, we almost forgot about him. Victor Creel. I think David didn't realize that, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's Freddy Krueger.
I didn't. My husband did.
Oh no, I did definitely. I was
It took me a second, and then Josh was like, no, that's Freddy Krueger. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. We can't understand why they didn't just release this at Halloween. Like, this should have been. I mean, I get July seems to be like the release month for it, but they did that one season at Halloween, and like everything about the season. Like
maybe they'll release season 5 in Halloween.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
Please do not make us wait until next July.
Yeah.
Do it Halloween of 2022. That'd be great.
Woo, let's do it. I love that.
That might be asking a lot. That might be asking a lot.
We can dream.
Right. But I mean, what I think the cool thing about like all these new characters is it gave us so many opportunities to have new relationships, ones that we never even knew we needed, and tons of new plots and storylines going on.
Can I just say though that not a fan of Lucas at the beginning.
No.
I genuinely thought I was going to hate him the whole season.
I was so confused. I was like, he's hanging out with with those people, and we don't like those people. And now Max and Lucas aren't together, and I love Max, so it must be Lucas's fault. And now we hate Max. There's just so many things going through my mind. I was like, I am just so confused. I hope this gets better.
Well, I thought like we were going to go back because I mean, Lucas season 1 was also kind of terrible to Elle. And then like he slowly started to grow on me. He's still probably my least, well, not anymore, but up until season 4, he was my least favorite of the core 4, you know, like the 4 boys.
I'd say he's still my favorite of them.
Not mine.
He's bumped up for me only because of the way he tried to protect Max and the way he took care of her there at the end. I mean, it shot him way up to
And the way he took care of Eddie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, like, he's never going to beat Dustin because Dustin is the number one of that group.
I'm sorry. How can you beat Dustin ever at anything?
Anything. No, Dustin's the best.
He's the best, one of the best parts of that show. Let's be honest.
And he's so sweet in real life too, because we went to a convention and Gaten was there, and he had already his signing. Yeah, it was amazing. And we happened to be, I don't know if we were standing in the hall, whatever we were doing, and he happened to be passing by. And it was just like, oh, hey guys, like I didn't even notice it was him. Like he started talking to my dad and my brother and happened to turn around and there he is just like chit-chatting with them. And he was just like real sweet and warm and he took a selfie with us. And it was just like, oh, hey guys, what's up? Like it was just like real Dustin just walking up and you were just like.
So I think with Lucas too, like he and Max, I actually kind of like, I liked when they were together, but I liked how their relationship played out this season.
I
because
agree.
you watched her trauma affect it, and that was more real. But you watched Lucas actually really, really be there for her this season.
That was really nice to see, especially after we started the season with not liking him much. I thought we were going to have to wait the whole season for him to finally. But luckily, that we didn't have to wait too long. I think it was maybe 2-3 episodes in or something that. The seasons were, or I'm sorry, the episodes were so long, I don't even know where one ended the other. But we didn't have to wait too long for him to come around. So it was really lovely just to see how they interacted with each other.
Yeah.
Even having been technically broken up still.
I will say, and I'm just going to throw this in here, even though not really liking Lucas at the beginning, I think that Mike and Dustin were kind of jerks for skipping this major game. I felt bad for Lucas in this moment. This is your friend, regardless of what's going on right now. And this is like a huge, it's not just a regular basketball game. This is like the championship game. He made the winning shot and not a soul was there except for our beloved Steve, best mom, you know, in Hawkins, was there to cheer him on. No one saw this.
Oh, Erica wasn't there. Erica was at the thing.
She wasn't.
She was at all the other ones.
Yes.
Because she was covering covering Lucas at Hellfire instead of cheering on Lucas at the game.
And I felt bad when he makes the shot. He kind of looks around and there's like nobody there. And then he sees them coming out. Like, I don't know. I felt bad for him. I will admit that I felt bad.
I did feel bad for him. I think too that he kind of, I imagine if Will was in that position of Lucas would have made the same decision to go to Hellfire. So I kind of looked at it that way because they all put so much stock in that group and in that club, and they did try to get it changed and it wouldn't get changed. But I still think that Lucas had every right to feel bad.
Yeah.
Because those are his family.
And you bring up Will, and you know, this makes me think too, like a lot of times we say like Dustin's kind of the glue, but you know what? Maybe Will is, because I feel like if Will had been there, Will would not have missed his friend's game for something. I feel like Will is the kid that would have been there to support him in this.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know.
Or Will might have gone wherever Mike went.
Well, I don't know. I think Will is, I think he's got a good heart. I think.
Oh, he does for sure.
In my opinion, I think that Will not being there is what had caused like that whole group to sort of lose what they had before. I think he was sort of, you know, it felt different until they had something like bring them back together. But I don't know.
I agree with that though. I definitely feel like Will might have at least planted a seed of doubt in their minds about not being there. He could have at least made them feel like just a tiny bit guilty, maybe.
Because in a way, like Lucas joined this team. In a way, I think he was searching for popularity. He was searching for his group. But Dustin and Mike were doing the same thing with Eddie and the Hellfire group. And I think the reason that they didn't miss out on the game is because Eddie like frightened them and wouldn't have allowed them. So I think they were doing the exact same thing in two different spots.
Yeah. And I think like with Lucas, we see in season 3 when he, you know, gets that girlfriend and he starts to become a little bit different towards his friends. And I think that he's always kind of had this inclination towards, I don't want to be the outcast. I don't want to. And so I think he's always had a bent that way. And even I think of that scene in season 3 where Will just kept basically begging them to play Dungeons and Dragons with him. And he came there with the wizard cap and the cape and everything. And no one would help him and no one would do anything with him. And they all just kind of ignored him. So I think this is sort of an inevitable thing to happen. I would see Will going with Mike because I think Will follows Mike around.
Well,
I mean, we figure out why, but I think that he just sort of, you know, I think he goes where he maybe where he feels needed the most, but maybe
Mhm.
it's also a little bit because he's so confused right now. I think that he goes where he feels he has to be.
And that's another relationship to discuss. That, I mean, I think, in my opinion, there's always been hints that Will has feelings that are obviously stronger than a friendship towards Mike. I think this season it was confirmed, maybe not confirmed, but it was definitely
confirmed.
hit home a whole lot harder. That scene in the van, y'all, it cracked me up. I'm like, Mike, do you not see him, that he's crying? Like, how do you not notice that the man is crying right beside you?
Oh, and Mike is just sitting there. I mean, he's not smiling, but he's definitely like, oh,
He was almost smiling. I mean, pretty close.
Mike's never been able to look outside his own world very well.
And then Will's crying, and I'm like, this is terrible, but also really funny. I don't know what to do right now.
Like a meme now. Have you seen it like anything and everything?
Yeah.
It's whatever you're referring to.
But it did give an opportunity for just Jonathan to be the one to notice it.
Yeah. And it was nice. I liked that. I liked being able to see that was a moment. That was another relationship that we saw grow, was between those two brothers. Jonathan's not my favorite either. Like, if I'm going to be honest, he never really has been. I think maybe in season 2 he was for a little while, and then all of a sudden he wasn't again. But I think it was nice, like his talk with Will, and like that moment was probably one of my favorite moments of the season. Just it was nice, and it was, I don't know, somebody being there for him anyways.
Yeah, Jonathan's not my favorite either, but I think the reason I like him more than I would is just because he is such a great brother.
I agree.
I mean, if he wasn't as involved in Will's life, I'd probably say I don't like him at all, but
I agree with that.
he is a really great brother, so he's got that.
So another one that we see a little more developed, because there's another change, is Mike and 11 too. Not Mike and 11. Yeah, Mike and 11.
Yeah.
Confusing Mike and Will.
I was Mike and 11. Even when she's Jane, she's still 11.
Yeah.
You know, especially
I can't call her Jane.
It feels very unnatural.
Very unnatural. Yeah. And I like the way how he says L. I think he uses L more than the others do. I don't know. I think it's kind of like
he gave her that name.
Yeah, he's the one that picked L out of that. So
yeah. I don't know how I feel about them really in their relationship.
You know, I heard somebody say that they weren't so sure about it.
Like, I like them together because Elle is the first person who showed Elle love and compassion, and I want her to stay with that person because, I don't know, it's like, you know, you always want with Elle, like, so that's kind of why I wanted to be with him. But there's just she worked so hard to prove to him, and even when he was like trying to make her feel better, he kept calling her superhero. Well, that means that if she's not a superhero anymore, then is she going to cease to be your superhero? Yeah. Is she going to see? So I feel bad for her in that regards, that I don't think it's something that Mike is putting on her. I think Mike thinks he's genuinely giving her a compliment. But for Elle, because of how her whole life has been, she's constantly trying to prove herself to him. And that's
I saw something, and it makes sense to me, that both Mike and Nancy, even in their relationships, like, I mean, we didn't really get to see Nancy and Jonathan. I mean, they were a couple, but we didn't really get to see them be a couple, be intimate, be like, you know, in a couple type setting very much, because we're always, you know, fighting evil. But like with Steve, like the beginning of season 2, she can't say she loves him. It's almost like Mike and Nancy, neither one can really express love. And if you look at Karen and Ted, this is sort of the house they've been brought up in. I'm sure Karen and Ted have love for each other. They've been married. They have 3 kids, but they obviously don't show it. It's not like they're like a loving, you know, couple that shows these emotions. So I wonder if that has something to do with how their kids are expressing these emotions.
I don't remember if it was Mike or if it was Nancy, but one of them, I think it was season 1, was explaining about how their mom married their dad.
That was Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy
was saying that to Jonathan. Yeah.
And she was saying that her mom didn't love him at all, but it was the safe choice. It was a cul-de-sac home that was safe for the guy who had money.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure over the years you have love for this man because you've built a family with him, but I don't think it's like this undying.
I would care if you lived or died. Yeah. But that's about it. And if it's that wide open knowledge to their kids, it's going to affect them.
Absolutely. And they're so young too, so they don't know like how to handle all of this and, you know, how to catch their footing and all of that. I mean, like you said, their parents aren't even there yet, and especially like when Mike and 11 meet. I mean, they're way younger than they are now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's probably part of it, and of course, even with Nancy, kind of dove into, the Steve Nancy relationship, and I think we kind of got like a little insight into that too, and I think that's all part of it. Now, I do like Mike and 11. Maybe I'm just because they, that's what they kind of pushed at the beginning, and it's kind of been that way. So maybe I just feel like, yeah, this, they're together. But yeah, I mean, obviously, no character is perfect and no relationship is perfect. There's flaws, and I think they were trying to actually showcase that in this season, like the whole monster versus superhero thing. Mike reacting certain ways to things that 11 has done. 11 not sharing everything with Mike the way things are really happening, and
that was sad.
That was horribly sad. So I think they're just like trying to get into, hey, they're getting older, and I think that was just things they've been fighting evil, so the negative aspects of the relationship haven't really shown. I mean, they've been kids all the time, and now they're facing things that, in a relationship, they have that, I guess, that luxury now because they're not fighting evil.
Well, I mean, the whole relationship has been marked and defined by trauma.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely. They didn't have a chance to just have a normal friendship, much less normal boyfriend girlfriend.
Yeah.
They don't know how to handle things, and I think that's what they're trying to showcase in this season.
I do love the idea of their relationship. Like, I really want them to be together and I want them to work, but I don't like where they stand right now or how they stand. There's just something off.
Shaky.
There's just something off about them, but I really want them to work out because I love the idea. The idea of them being together is really cute and I love it, but they're just not in a good place now. And it's I don't know, it's just off.
Yeah. And I know that like Max is in a coma right now, but I feel like Max and Lucas are in a better place than Mike and 11 are.
Yeah.
Right now.
I mean, I do think Mike and 11 by the end of the season, we're at least doing better. I mean, like, finally, because thank God Will like had a conversation with him and kind of told him, what Elle needs. I think him being able to help her find the power to fight Vecna and saying those kinds of things to her, I think that was good. So I hope maybe season 5, things are cool. I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I'm just kind of tired of the back and forth of Mike not making her feel as loved as she should feel. So
that scene in her bedroom when she said, "You don't love me anymore, then why don't you say it?" And then she went through all the letters that she saved. That was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Then he said, "What? I say it all the time." I was like, I don't think you do. Ever.
And I feel fairly protective of Elle. So I mean, I would have to agree that I like the idea of them, but I don't like how he's making her feel right now. So that's upsetting me.
And I think that's just part of like, obviously there was a cliffhanger, many cliffhangers that take place. I think that was just their relationship was just another aspect of being left unresolved and having to be resolved in season 5. So I'm hoping at least that's the case. Obviously, I mean, things are never going to end up perfect, but that might one of the cliffhangers, even though there was a little bit of resolution in this season for Mike and 11's relationship, I think that they can even further that in season 5.
Yeah.
I hope they continue to try to make their relationship better because I'm really rooting for them. I really want this to work. I don't want it to be the rest of the series.
I mean, there's another, like, we talked about about Nancy and Mike and how they're kind of struggling to say I love you because of their family's relationship. I mean, we can see that play out with Nancy and Jonathan and Steve and that whole triangle. Like she just, it's like with her too, she has the same problem that Mike does, that she struggles to be with someone who isn't an immediate grasp. And you watch Mike and 11 separate a little bit more verbally when she moved to California, and you see obviously Jonathan and Nancy are not doing so hot.
I don't know where you all stand on all this, but I have never really okay, season 1, obviously when Steve's being a jerk, I was rooting for Jonathan a little bit. But once Jonathan and Nancy got together, it's like I know that the actors are dating in real life, so there should be chemistry. Yeah.
Oh.
So there should be chemistry.
Information.
But there's not for me. I don't feel it. I don't feel like it's like once they got together, there was that's what I was saying. We never saw them, even when they worked together. I think we saw them wake up together one day, like getting ready for work, but like, we don't see any like loving moments between these two. And that season in particular, was that season 3? I think so. That was
Mhm.
like, they were the ones together the whole season. Like
Yeah.
it was them two in their little grouping. And it's like, we haven't seen any moments of any like love. We've seen way more this season with her and Steve, and they're not even together.
Yeah. Because I think with Nancy and Mike both, I think they tend to gravitate towards the one who is the easiest to be with, which oftentimes means into the same sort of things. Not, there's no fight, there's no passion, there's no anything. It's just ease, smooth sailing, which is kind of like their parents.
Yeah.
But I think what she's found is when she's with Steve, she wants that kind of nurturing, passionate aspect. And I don't think Jonathan brings it because I don't think they want the same things.
No. Like I never understood why really Steve and Nancy broke up in season 2, because at that point Steve was like a good boyfriend. Like but what was the appeal of Jonathan? Because then after you got together, there was like nothing exciting in my opinion. So like I never saw it. That's me. I'm team Stancy all the way. Like, but I've never seen
I think
it.
her and Steve are a better fit because they're opposite enough to make their relationship work by being opposite sides of the same coin, but they also want the same things. They want to do the same things. They want the family life. They want the school. They want the same thing, but they also are different enough to where they can call each other out on the crap and it's healthier. It's better.
Yeah.
There's a reason
I mean, I thought by the end of the season, we were going to have Steve and Nancy were going to have their moment.
But then John had to show back up.
Yeah, I'm like, get out of here, you guys, but like we almost had it. But then even still, like, I mean, they lied to each other again, Jonathan asked, are they okay? And she doesn't mention, I mean, there's obviously things were rocky. She knows she was feeling something for Steve in those moments, even if, she's not sure if she wants him. You were feeling something enough that you guys might need to have a discussion. And then Jonathan, I mean, you're just lying what's the point of lying about this now?
Yeah, he even she straight point blank asked him if he got his acceptance letter and he said, nope, not yet. How long do you think you're going to be able to keep this from her? Like, she's going to go to school and realize you're not there at some point. You realize this.
And I know that they explained why, like they explained to their prospective, people they were with that season, like why they were lying to each other. But still, I was like, okay, I understand, but also I don't. Like, what's the whole point of any of this?
Well, exactly. Where is she going to? Where is this school in question? Is it close to Hawkins?
I don't remember.
What is it? Like,
where is this school that they're applying to?
Starts with an E. I just don't remember what it is or anything about it.
Because my thought was when he's in California, he says he doesn't want to leave, Will and 11 and his mom. Cool, get it. But now everyone's back in Hawkins and your mom has Hopper to take care of everybody. So what's your excuse now, Jonathan?
Jonathan will always find one because I think Jonathan has no faith in himself.
And if he doesn't want to do this, fine. That's okay.
Tell her that.
Be honest with her. I don't think Nancy's the kind of person that just because you don't want this exact same thing she wants, that's just going to be the end of it. I think if you're honest with her and you express this, maybe you can make this work. But I don't think you can come back from this now. I mean, that was a blatant lie.
Yeah.
And I think all of that is just to show, I'm thinking, for me, my personal opinion is that, obviously Steve and Nancy are going to get back together in season 5 because they built that up the whole season 4. And I think this one building block of why Jonathan and Nancy aren't going to continue and how that's going to make a way for Nancy to continue. It's just one more step in that direction.
And I mean, that scene in the RV where he's talking about what he's always dreamed about. And he's like, we had 6 kids. I love Nancy's response and his response back to her. Like that was the most natural feeling relationship. It was way more natural than any you liken that to the conversation in season 3 where she's talking about how she wants to pursue this story in the car with Jonathan, and Jonathan's like kind of giving her a hard time. That felt so tense. But with Steve and Nancy in the RV, it was so smooth. And then we have to bring up where Steve says, "Oh, if only I had experience." He points to the back where all the kids are sitting back there. And Eddie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's just, and I mean, like we've seen all season 2, like if you take the moment when, Steve jumps into the Watergate and like when they realize he gets pulled back down, I mean, Nancy doesn't
season 4,
even,
like this, this
sorry. Yeah.
I was like,
what did I say? I don't know. But like, I mean, she doesn't even hesitate and I know it's Nancy, and Nancy I mean, maybe she wouldn't have hesitated for anyone because I think she's just brave and badass and whatever she is. Like, I mean, she didn't hesitate for a second. Like Eddie even told him. I mean, she just jumped straight in to rescue him. And I think that's telling. I mean, like I said, I know it's Nancy and I think she would probably do that for anyone.
But she probably would have had more of a conversation with the people around her before she did it if it was anybody other than Steve. To be fair, I think she would have done the same thing if it were Jonathan, because I think she's torn.
She would have. Yes. And I mean, I don't think Jonathan's a bad guy. So I get it. I just think
he's not right for her. And she's not right for him either.
No.
Another thing I've noticed too, now that we're all talking about it, is that with like Nancy is just so intense. All the time. She is hardcore. And
so is Jonathan.
And so is Jonathan. But then with Steve, he's like so much lighter. Like, he's fun. He's funny. He's, cracking jokes most of the time. And it's just a much better balance. Like with Nancy and Jonathan, I mean, they're both just so intense. And it just
would be so unhealthy.
It doesn't make for a healthy relationship.
No, I mean, because I think Jonathan needs that too. Because I mean, if you think about I know this isn't a romantic relationship, but if you see him with Argyle, like that was one of the fun things I liked about Argyle, that he sort of like Jonathan like loosened up a little and he kind of like let him have some fun, which we've not seen Jonathan have any fun until he got high, which that was a hilarious scene, and I mean, I loved it. It was just nice.
At the dinner table when they're talking about that,
he's like, wait, what? He has no idea what's going on around him. I mean,
and they tried to convince people that they weren't stoned.
And like Joyce, it's just because her mind was elsewhere. Because I'm like, Joyce, you were probably, a kid in the 60s and 70s. You know what's going on.
The looks on Murray's face as he watched them, though. And we see another dynamic with him and Eddie and Dustin, because Steve's the mom of all those kids, but then you see those three together and it's a whole different dynamic separate from all the other kids.
Yes.
You see, what I love about Dustin is that, Steve loves to say that he's always babysitting and he's always taking care of kids, but really it's Dustin doing all of the heavy lifting.
That's true.
The way Dustin speaks to him sometimes, like they all had flashlights and Steve was like, where did everyone get the flashlights? And Dustin was like, you're not a child.
The thing is, though, Steve loves Dustin. I'm thinking he cares for all the other children. I mean, he loves Dustin. I mean, I know this isn't season 4, but like season 3, when he comes into that and scoops ahoy or whatever, he's so like, excited. 100%. I mean, he's like so happy. Like he loves him.
I love that scene in season 2. Maybe season 1. I think it was 2. It was because it was when Billy beat the crap out of Steve. And then he wakes up in the car and Dustin's like, you're fine.
Well, yeah, that's when Max is driving, which is why he says Max can never drive the car again. Like, and
so we see in this scene when he's like, they're like, who's gonna drive? Robin will drive. No, I can't drive. And then Max like, I'll drive.
He's like, no, never you.
Yeah, he was coming out of it and he was like, Dustin's like, you did great, buddy. You did so awesome. They're all like, he had his butt kicked. Again. And I think that's when I said in the chat, I was like, why does poor Steve have to get the crap beaten out of him in every single season?
Even this season, the bats did it to him.
Choked almost to death. Twice. He got choked to death almost twice.
Yeah. So okay.
I feel like it happened in season 1. They were like, oh, it's great when Steve gets the crap beat out of him. Let's do it every season.
Can we talk about
what was it? Was it when he came in with the bat and he got the crack kick out of him then? Right when he was trying to beat that thing up with everybody else and beat him up?
In which season?
Season 1.
No, Jonathan beat the crap out of him.
That's right. In the alley.
Okay, which surprised me. Like, I didn't see that coming, but okay. When he walked sideways towards him, remember we were just.
He was getting prepped for that.
Season 2 was Billy. Who was it? Season 3?
The Russians.
Oh yeah.
The Russians, yeah.
But he was all that one. He didn't care because he was all high the whole time it was happening. So like he didn't pay attention.
Steve was high.
Yeah, remember they like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Steve and Rob were both high, and then who was Dustin and Erica had to be in charge of them. Which I know we haven't talked much about Erica yet, but oh my god, I just love how she is with absolutely everyone. Like she has no filter with anyone. She is who she is.
You can't spell America without Erica. Like,
Oh,
I love that
And
line.
they both looked at each other, and I was like, "Well, she's not wrong."
Even Dustin said, "That's right," or "That's not wrong." He was just like,
wait,
okay.
did they say that in the show? You can't spell America without Erica?
Yeah,
Yeah.
when they're trying to get her to like help them with like the Russians or whatever, because they need her to fit through that little thing because no one else can.
Well, with Dustin and Steve and Eddie, you get that sweet moment with Dustin, or not Dustin, with Eddie and Steve.
Mhm.
When Eddie's saying, you know, I suppose I was a little jealous of you, or did Steve say that to Eddie? I don't remember which way it went.
I think
One
Steve
of them,
said it to Eddie.
one of them said it
Or
the other way
no.
around, and then the other one agreed, like, well, that was me with you. So
Yeah.
they're both
They love
fighting over
Dustin.
Dustin
Mhm.
because Dustin cares so well for everybody. He just has this personality. Like, I want to be Dustin's friend.
Yes.
If Dustin Henderson was a real person, I would so fight to be his friend.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And you just to watch these two, one who is a high school graduate and the other who is should have been a high school graduate, about to be a high school graduate, fight over this kid and want to be connected to this kid, and watching. I mean, I think Dustin really took care of both of them.
Mhm.
But
I
that
agree.
that final scene where you get the true merit of who Dustin is and what he's willing to do for other people is the only scene I cried in the whole show. The only scene, and that's when Eddie stayed in the, oh my gosh,
Moment of silence for
when Eddie
Eddie.
stayed in the upside down, and I love Eddie so much. This is a really hard scene for me. But when Dustin came back down, oh my gosh.
Hey, we all feel it. We all feel it.
I felt that, I mean, I saw it coming and I knew it was going to happen. I knew when we talked about deaths, I was like, it's going to be Eddie. I know it's going to be Eddie, but it was so much harder than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And it wasn't about like the death scene itself. It's about the conversation that he had with Dustin and just talking about like, you know, this is going to be my year. And like, I mean, all these like lines that he said that you're just like, oh my
When
gosh.
he said, I didn't run away this time. Oh
I know.
my gosh.
And I wanted him. I was like, you know what? It's okay. Run away this one
I
time.
know. I was like, just run. Please run, Eddie.
It's like, if you run, everyone will forgive you. It's okay.
But then again, I was also thankful that he didn't, you know, because if he went back with Dustin, the bats would have came right back, and then Robin and Steve and Nancy would.
You can't take away his heroic thing that he did. And even when Dustin was talking to his uncle afterwards, that heroic moment is what's going to define Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you right now, if they bring back any other dead character and it's not Eddie, I'm going to be real upset. If they bring back, like they can bring back any dead character, if they die in the upside down, whatever. I understand that Eddie actually died, whereas the other ones, but see, he's the one who died in the upside down.
There's a way. I think there's a way. Plus, also, here's something else, okay? And I'm just saying, I know we saw him die, but I'm reaching at every straw I can get. Like, I'm just trying. There is also an interview. It's because my TikTok is full of nothing but Stranger Things and Eddie and all this. There's an interview with the Duffer Brothers, and it was after we saw like Steve got bit by the bats or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
that was hard to watch.
They actually said you cannot die from being bit by a demo bat. Like they said these words. I know that they did. It's somewhere because I've seen several people like comment on. I've not seen the interview myself, but I've seen so many people say this. Now I know that Eddie was sort of like I mean, like he got attacked way worse.
I think they meant by a bite.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm grasping at every straw that I
because I mean you don't necessarily die from a shark bite either, but you die the shark devours you.
That's true too. I'm just saying.
I mean, I don't know why I'm fighting this because I'm intrigued by this.
They said these words, and they said these words knowing they already knew that that's how Eddie was going to die. Like they've already written it. So like the fact that you say these words,
don't toy with us, Duffies.
Exactly.
I feel like they knew what was coming, so like we're just gonna drop this here, and then so when that happens, everybody gets that hope. But you know what I liked though was like we were talking earlier about like the jockeys were not happy. They for lack of a better word, we were talking earlier about how the basketball team are just the biggest villains, one of the biggest villains, and that's saying a lot because it's Stranger Things. And he's going on talking, but yet you see like these characters, these heroes. Like I truly thought that Eddie lived out what he was saying before. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I feel like that was Eddie living that out in that moment. you know, and the jocks are over here trying to pretend they're the good guys and they're rallying the town, and you know, we're the basketball players, and we're gonna come, you know, win the championship and everybody's gonna be happy. But in reality, like, they were doing the evil thing, you know, and I think that was so cool about Eddie's character, because again, like we were saying earlier, when he first comes up, you're not like, is this like going to be a good guy? Is he not going to be a good guy? But like, to see all of that happen, but you knew the instant he was like cutting that sheet, he was going to go for something, and that's when you see like, what he's made of, you know, and that's the moment he really chose to overcome evil with good. But when he's having that conversation like between him and Dustin right after Robin and Steve have their conversation of, I just have a bad feeling, but we're going to try anyway. And then you see him, he's like, don't ever change. And he got to say that because isn't that something that people, when they graduate, they put in the yearbooks? Like, don't ever feel, I feel like they gave him that moment of, you know, he didn't graduate high school, but all of the honors, everything that counts in that, he got, you know, he got his, he got to say, hey, don't ever change. He got to graduate in a way that we wouldn't want to see him graduate, but you just knew. So it's tough, but honestly, I think I like any theory that brings Eddie back in any way. Like, I'm for that. So
100%. Do what you got to do.
Stranger Things. So pretty much anything is possible.
Well, I mean, if we look at the end of season 3, we all thought, I mean, I know there's the end scene.
That still doesn't make sense to me, by the way.
But right. And so it happened. We lost Hopper for a second there. And I don't know about you all, but I was distraught in that moment because Hopper is probably my maybe 3rd favorite character.
I'd say he's in my top 3.
He's up there. Okay. He has been since the first season. We got him back. It's possible. And I'm so glad we did. One of my favorite relationships is, the moment I've been waiting for 4 seasons finally happened. I mean, I've wanted Hopper and Joyce to be in love for so long, and we got it finally.
Like, poor Bob, but I'm glad he got out of Hopper.
I mean, Bob had to die though, as sucky and terrible, because I really like Bob, and I suspect a lot of it is because Sean Astin is a big part of my childhood. But I really, really liked Bob. But
Bob was a lovely guy.
He did have to die for a lot of things to result the way they did.
Yeah, I love Bob because I love Sean Astin. I remember saying something in the chat. I said, "Oh, I love Bob. Oh crap, he's gonna die, isn't he?"
Mm-hmm. Oh
no. Yeah, of course.
And I don't think anyone said anything, but I was like, "Yeah, he's gonna die," and he did. It was gruesome.
That one was bad.
I watched the second time knowing it was coming, and I still couldn't watch it. I was like, oh God.
Joy just sat there watching it instead of walking.
I think I'm still in denial over Bob. You know, it's like Bob and like Justice for Barb, and then they're like Justice for Bob. Because everybody, we should have known. I mean, their names are so similar, but it was just, it's hard to watch. But I think the fact that, it did make way for Joyce and Hopper, I think that because they knew they were going to go that way, that was the only way you can cope with losing Bob, especially the way that you did. But we should have known the whole time, because he was just like, you know, he was a red shirt. He was just this big cuddly character. They set up that thing with Joyce and Hopper, so we should have known better, but it was just very hard.
Yeah, David Harbour, I was reading an interview that he gave, and he was saying that there's no way something as good as Bob could survive in a place like Hawkins. So you had to know he was going to die, because Hawkins is so dark. And I think, like, with Hopper, I still don't understand, like, I don't understand how he came back. I think because it looks like he just fell off the railing and the Russians got him back. But when he fell off the railing, the U.S. military was all up in that place. Do you think they're going to let the Russians walk out with a prisoner? So I still don't understand. I mean, I'm thankful for it. And I'm not going to do it because I'm thankful for it.
No,
but I don't
let it go.
And
let it go.
Holy cow, does he look thin? He said he lost 90 pounds.
Wow. I mean, but I love that, like, poor guy had to go through it to make this happen.
He said he just didn't. They're like, what did it take? He's like, it just looked like a lot of not eating.
But it felt authentic. I mean, So kudos to that. Well, talking about how much weight he lost, because I loved how all the characters commented on it, like every time they saw him, like once he was back. In that scene with Joyce when they're talking about Enzo's and all of that, and he's like, I'm going to order lasagna, maybe 2 lasagnas. And she's like, so you're thinking about that? And he's like, yeah, like, and that's what I'm like, woman, he hasn't been eating for like months. Let him dream about his lasagna. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And plus, he's got a daughter. So she might be at the top of the list above you, Joyce.
Yeah.
But I did love the top. I mean, that just cements that those two are meant for each other by that interaction alone, because she laughed really hard when he said that.
Yes. And I thought it was taking them way too long to finally kiss anyways. Like, I'm like, can we please?
I love that they finally started to kiss and the phone rang.
I know.
Hopper's reaction.
They're teasing us. They knew. They're just like this big tease.
I mean, you want that phone call, but it's like, you just give us a few minutes. Like, I mean, we just reunited, but
that felt like coming home for, I think, most of the fandom, because we've watched this tension build, and we watched Hopper watch her with Bob, and you knew it tortured him. You watched him watch her not want to be with him. I mean, that when he was asking for advice about 11 and he's asking her on this date, and clearly that's what he's doing, and she doesn't pick up on it. So it's been hard to watch Hopper pine for her, and you just knew in the depth of your soul that they were right for each other. So to have this happen was so great, and it was so good, and it was just a sigh of relief, especially when they came back home. It was beautiful. That was a beautiful moment when they all came back home.
Beautiful moment.
And the other relationship Hopper had was surprisingly, like with Hopper and Enzo. I loved watching that relationship develop.
Me too.
And you see how well they got to know each other by when they're in the yard about to fight that thing. And I was so confused, like, Hopper, what are you doing? Why are you antagonizing this man? But I knew what weapon he was going to have in the end to kill the thing. So I couldn't understand how this is going to help him. But he's taunting about his son and hitting him where it hurts. And you can't hit somebody where it hurts unless you know them well. So it was just, Hopper's the reason I love Enzo, I think.
Yeah.
I think Hopper brought out his humanity.
When we have not talked about one character that I think we really need to talk about, and that is 1/Henry/Vecna. Isn't that what Robin wants to call? Yeah, I mean, this character, he's another one that I swear, if it wasn't for the portrayal of the person playing him, he would not, because he is a villain. He is our darkest villain we've had yet.
Yes,
absolutely.
But I love him. And I think it's because of just the portrayal of the actor and how well he plays this role. And you don't like him, but you don't necessarily want him to go away, because the portrayal of what he's bringing to the screen is just so entertaining.
He is a villain for sure, the worst of the worst that we've seen on this show, but he's he's a good villain to watch. When we kept seeing his story evolve, I was like, okay, so these two people are one and the same. And then I was like, oh my gosh, he has a third personality. This is crazy. It's just such a fun villain to watch, if that makes sense. I need to see more Vecna, just because
his storyline was so deep and so well thought out.
Kudos to that actor, because holy cow, he's an amazing actor. Because I've seen Jeanette's TikToks that she sent, and he seems like a really nice guy.
He's delightful.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very delightful. So the fact that he's playing such an insanely villainous villain, I know, repetitive, but such a big villain. I mean, he's a crazy good actor. If we can get him on here, that would do. That would be fascinating to be able to talk to that guy.
I've loved Jamie Campbell Bower for a long time.
I was going to say, I wonder how far in advance the Duffer Brothers had this character and storyline in mind.
They had it pretty well thought out, mapped out.
I think maybe from the beginning, they're okay, we're starting this show and this is what's going to happen. And at this time, this character and this storyline, because it's just so, it's just so deep, and you start to see, oh my gosh, he's this, but it's almost you don't see it right away. And you're like, wow, I didn't think of that. And then I think they were kind of hinting that he was one, but I didn't get that he was Vecna until it was closer to him making that reveal, and then once it got a little bit closer, then you're like, oh, I get it now, you know.
Yeah.
So I just like they slowly peeled it back little by little.
Yeah.
I thought that's really awesome.
My guess is the storyline has been like so intertwined, like from the very beginning, because like, I mean, I've seen, like I said, my TikTok's full, so this is all I see when I go on there. But like, there's moments, like if you think back to season 1, and when there's something about like, there's like some kind of figure that you see behind Will before he's taken. And I know it's supposed to be the Demogorgon, but it doesn't really, it looks more like Vecna. And then there's also, if you notice, like there are moments that when Will is able to come back, it's when he's like, I think he keeps thinking about that, you know, should I stay or should I go song that, you know, him and Jonathan. So like all of these things are already there. Not to mention the Mind Flayer looks like a, you know, a spider. This is kind of the thing that like they bring, I don't know. I mean, all of it is just so, I don't know. It's a really cool if they've had this planned this long.
I'm pretty sure
right. I
they
forgot
did.
that Will made that. Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the story that's this, we have, what's neat about this show is that every year, every season we have, and it feels like a new big bad, but it's the same story carried over. But they have to reinvent it. They have to add it in a different way. So to have something that's this intensely intertwined, I would think that it has to be at least loosely mapped out. At least loosely. If not, I mean, they're the most amazing people on the planet. Come up with this on the fly at the end of every season.
Which I think both may be true. Yeah.
But I think I had the advantage, well, I don't know if it's an advantage or disadvantage, of knowing Jamie Campbell Bower was Vecna. I didn't think he was going to appear in human form. I thought he was just playing in the suit of Vecna.
Yeah.
Because I happened to see a stupid TikTok where he talks about how long he was in the makeup. Or no, it was an interview. Yeah, it was a TikTok of an interview. And he had said that they asked him about going to the bathroom. He's like, yeah, it was like a 4-hour process and I have this long hand. So my man had to help me go to the bathroom. I had to go to the bathroom. I can't use these long nails. So I knew he was Vecna, but I just thought he was going to be that guy. So when he appeared as Jamie Campbell Bower in the
you knew
or whatever, I went, oh, and Dave was like, what? Like, I don't think I can tell you yet. And so that whole time I was so deeply enthralled of, I cannot wait to see how they unfold how he became that, because I knew that was the connection there, because I already knew that that's who he was. And like I said, I've loved Jamie Campbell Bower for a while, so I know who he was when he walked in the screen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I feel like I kind of was figuring that out because I just kind of like, I don't know, the reveal part of like Henry being in this was just like mind blowing. Because the whole time I'm like, why is Vecna telling Nancy this story? I was so confused.
I know. And I still don't know why Nancy was chosen to be the one to be
oh.
told the story.
Yeah, but it was because she had already talked. Well, she had already talked to Victor Creel, so she
That's
already
true.
knew this story about his family. So she was the one that he shared that with. So I was like, this is pretty cool. I don't know.
It was really well done. I mean, there were some things I did figure out, but the biggest things I didn't figure out until it was revealed when they wanted it revealed. Yeah. But like when with the chip that he had Elle remove, I figured that one out. I was like, no.
Yeah.
There had to be some reason. But when he started talking about one, I kind of assumed he was one. And so like, but those are just little tiny things that I think they left it the way they did because they wanted to see if people could figure it out from there and it wasn't a big deal. But this show is so well done that you didn't figure out the big things until they wanted you to figure out the big things.
Yeah.
And I think it's same with Dr. Brenner. I only knew he was alive because I started watching for the very first time the week before season 4, the second half came out.
Wow.
So I happened to catch I was so mad I found this out, but I actually went to play an episode and it went right from season 4 and it was about him. The title of the episode was him somehow. Like, okay, so how is he alive then? So when he died, I was like, nope, not dead. He's not dead.
Well, if it helps though, like I have to say, because it took so long to get season 4, we made the mistake of we did not go back and watch the other 3 before we started it. We had to then stop and kind of like, David's like, hold on, I got to Google something. Cause like, we were so like, I don't remember what happened. Yeah. So when Brenner popped up, I was like, did he die? I don't remember if he died. And even like Sam, I was just like, wait, who was he? Like, it was like all of these things, like I almost didn't remember these people. So I was like, when I went back for my rewatch, I was like, okay, they were a way bigger character than like I remembered here.
And of course, I think, you know, at the end of season 2, they does say when she goes to visit her sister 8, is he not dead? Is he really dead? So I mean, they kind of planted that doubt, but Sorry, go ahead, Eve.
I just didn't remember that part.
See, I binged all 4 seasons and still I didn't remember Sam. Like him, I didn't remember. I was like, I thought he was new, but then they were talking about him like he wasn't. So I was like, who the heck is this guy? But like I said, I just did a rewatch. Like I'm telling you, right after I finished watching, I think a few days later, I was like, I'm going to go back and rewatch.
Well, I think it's because he was involved with Will. So then seeing him with Elle, it felt out of place. And because I was a little confused too. I was like, wait a minute.
Well, that's because he helped Topper with Elle.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but we didn't realize that, I don't think, and so like I
did, but only because I'm a big Paul Reiser fan. So
yeah, well,
I was very aware of him.
I honestly didn't realize that was him when I first watched it because he looks so much. I hadn't seen him since his days on like My Two Dads, guys. Like I don't remember this.
I don't remember him on My Two Dads. I remember him from Mad About You.
Well, that too. Wasn't he the guy? He's in My Two Dads too, right?
I don't know. I've never seen that show. I don't think.
Have you not? That's a really good like 80s show. I feel like I thought you would have known that one.
I know of the show. I've just never seen it.
Oh,
speaking of, did you guys see the meme where it's Dustin with Eddie and Steve, and it's like My Two Dads?
Oh, yep.
Yep.
And they implanted their faces on it.
Yes, exactly. Like that was like, I think that's probably one of my favorite, at least season 4 memes.
Mm-hmm.
But it was kind of a weird dynamic with Brenner and Sam, because then you kind of think, so was Sam helping him all this time when he was supposed to be dead? Was he feeding information to Brenner when he was helping Will? Yeah. So that was kind of like, because I was trying to figure out the dynamic between Brenner and Sam when they were working together, because obviously Brenner doesn't give 2 craps about Sam.
Yeah.
Because he handcuffed him to a pipe and then convinced Eleven that, I'd have people kill him in a second.
For a while, I was a little confused about that storyline. Like I got what was going on, but I was confused about, I was like, are we rooting for Sam? Are we rooting for Dr. Brenner? Are we not rooting for either one of them or both? Like I was very confused the whole time, like if we were supposed to like them or not.
I think you even stay confused. I mean, I think Sam, you decide he's a good guy, like cool. Mm-hmm. Brenner, I think you stay confused because in his last moments, he has a tiny bit of redemption. And so it's like, I think in his own weird like way, he did love and care for Elle.
I think he released the collar because he didn't want anyone else, if it wasn't him, to have control over her.
I don't know. I think there was some sort of love and affection there. It's just in a very strange way of showing it. I think he's just a very controlling individual. But I do think, I mean, especially out of all of them, I think he cared for her more than any of the rest of them. But I don't know. Still not a good guy. I'm totally okay with him being one of the ones that died. So.
I mean, so much of who Elle is and who she became is because of him. So it's hard to kind of separate those two. I mean, you watch Elle blew Henry into the upside down. I mean, she was up in the air and she had things being broken. Her eyes are starting to be pulled out. And she still, after all that, managed to blow him into the upside down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Yeah.
I think she was always been the most powerful of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
So
definitely.
Maybe one of the others wouldn't have had that, but she did. And I think that's why the story is around 11 and not, around anyone in their kids.
I mean, you see that parallel from when she's in the asylum and those boys beat the crap out of her because she showed them up. And then while that's happening in her memories, she's also experiencing that in real life. These kids who are beating her up or physically and verbally assaulting her because of who she is. Mm-hmm. So it's been her whole life. So to see her background that clearly and see it so represented in the current time is sort of devastating.
Yeah.
This is what she's known. This is what her life has been. And so just getting her background, I think, was a crucial point that has been missing this whole time. So I feel like season 5 is really able to wrap it up because we've gotten her background in season 4.
Absolutely. It's like you get another layer and another layer every season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to help towards resolution. They've learned a lot, and I'm assuming that they're finally going to find some sort of resolution, to the big bad, because we're not going to be able to see the story progress anymore after season 5. But, I think she's probably going to have that resolution too. She's going to be able to either like put that behind her or, learn how to cope with it so that she can move forward and not be stuck in that same place that she's been when she was, with the other kids or when she was in California, and that in and of itself helps her fight the big bad and appreciate the family she has now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So speaking of next season, seeing everything play out, I definitely think it has to continue because every single season has been a continuation of what happened in the season before, but yet still a new plot line.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty interesting how they tie all the seasons in together, because I remember when I first started watching, I asked, like, is it a brand new storyline each season, but with the same characters? And everyone was like, yeah, no, kind of. I was like, everyone needs to make up their minds. But then I watched it, I was like, I get it now.
It's like an onion, and each season you peel it back. And I think I kind of mentioned something like that earlier, but it's like,
you love your onion.
Like an ogre.
I love the onions. Can you tell? Maybe I'm just hungry. I don't know. I had a good dinner.
Yeah.
But you peel it back like season 1, because you're introduced, to this new storyline, these characters, and it feels like just this really cozy, really well made, like a sci-fi movie, but it's not, it's a series, and we have no idea how deep it's gonna go when it gets started. And like we were talking about earlier, they probably did map it out from the beginning. It's not just starts, here's the big bad, the movie ended, we're done. That was just like the first layer. You peel that back and you see a little bit deeper. Like, I like how you were saying, Eve, that you weren't sure if it's like a new storyline the next season, because you're thinking, oh, okay, we fought the monster and we won, and you're like, how can you continue? And then they find a way, like, nope, there's more. But wait, there's more, and you can find how that storyline continues,
because in a way they are moving on to something else, but they're still tying what happened before into that.
Absolutely. Something new happened. So it's like, oh, almost like cause to effect. It's like, here's one thing, and okay, now that gives way to this. And we're introduced to like the mind flayer, and it's the same evil coming, and you're fighting it. Oh, okay, whew, we can breathe now. And then here comes season 3. Okay, and then you're realizing that it's just the same struggle between Hawkins and the Upside Down, and it's just different ways of that seeping through, and just different battles. You're thinking it's just like one war that you're winning, but like each season is like a different battle of the same ongoing war. You're just seeing different aspects of it.
And I think every season got progressively better. I think I was talking to my husband about how I heard season 2 and 3 were a little bit boring, but 4 was better, all that stuff. And my husband was like, are you insane? No, they've all been good. They just keep getting better. And I think I would agree with that, because I actually really enjoyed season 2, and I enjoyed season 3 even more. I didn't like that seasons 4, because I liked that the first 3 weren't so much horror, but were more like sci-fi thriller mysteries. I like that. I don't like the fearful horror stuff. And it feels like that's more of what season 4 is, which surprised me that I liked it so much. But the reasons I liked it so much were Eddie, Steve, Dustin, Hopper. It's the characters that I've grown to love and have felt so connected to, that I got to watch, experience different things, and be silly and goofy, that made it balanced it. And I think it's odd because this is the darkest season I think we've had so far, the scariest season we've had so far, also the funniest season we've had so far.
Yeah. And I think that you had to balance it.
For me, though, because I'm the horror fan, I loved that this was more of a horror. I don't really like sci-fi. I love Stranger Things, but it took me a while to decide to even try to watch the show, because I was like, I'm not really into sci-fi. I'm not into all that kind of stuff. I love horror movies, so I kind of hope that season 5 is also a horror type genre.
Well, I mean, we know Vecna's going to be there, so
yeah.
Right.
But
itself to that.
I think I'm the one that told you, and I still will. Even in my rewatch, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think season 2 was probably my least favorite of the 4. I don't know. I think 4 is my favorite. I think it's the best season that we've had by far. Like, I mean, it's kept me like on the edge. And I mean, part of this, I mean, I've rewatched it though since then. I will admit that when I watched 2 and 3 both times, I was still dealing with a child that never slept. And so a lot of times when my husband and I would put these on, I would already be so exhausted that I would fall asleep. And I thought maybe it was just because it was kind of boring. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just me that I was sleep deprived. but even still rewatching, I think like, I don't know how you all would rank, but I think I would rank season 4, season 1, 3, and then 2 is how I think I would do it. But
It's kind of hard. I don't know. I'd have to like really stop and think about like which one I want to rank it in, because
Yeah.
I mean each season has like
it's
their
different.
highlights and has their moments of
Mhm.
you know. I think it just depends on where you're at. You know, each one has their own feel, you know, as
Yeah.
you move along. But like you were saying, you were more into horror, so like this one's
Mhm.
definitely good for you. And
Yeah.
me, my appeal to it, like I'm a huge sci-fi fan, so like Josh discovered it first, and he's like, "You have to watch the show." It's like because it was like the '80s, and so you had
Mhm.
all that nostalgia, and it was like you know E.T. and
Mhm.
you know, like there should have been a DeLorean there somewhere, you know. And
Yeah.
but it was sci-fi. It was like this really cozy sci-fi show, you know. And then like we said, this episode did just get really dark. I mean, this season was really
Mhm.
dark and really gory, and I think it just kind of like lent itself, you know, maybe to a broader audience. I think they were like thinking the kids are older, they're more mature, so
Mhm.
like they mature the storyline a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, facing a darker evil now, which probably is the same evil they've been facing, they're just facing it in a darker way.
Yeah.
And it's in the climax too, because now we know season 5 is the end, which is I can't even think about that. But you know, they have to get you to that big climax so they can get that big resolution. It's I hope it comes out at Halloween, because like every season kind of lends itself. Even I think season 2 was the one that came out actually at
I
Halloween,
think
and they
it
had like
was.
the
Yeah.
pumpkin patch, and they went trick or treating, and all of that was just so cozy and fun. So
Mhm.
we'll see what happens in season 5. By the way, that's the only reason why I could cope with Eddie, because I'm thinking if we only get one more season, we weren't gonna have him beyond that season anyway. So
Yeah, true.
the only thing that's getting me through. Other than that, like if this season was gonna go on forever, I wouldn't be able to do it.
One, I think that's why for me, because I'm the Steve girl over here, I think 3 stands out more than 2, because that's the time when we get like Steve and Robin. And Robin's
Mhm.
like probably she's my favorite girl in the show for sure. I
Yeah.
adore Robin. It's where we meet her. So that season's got to be up there. And then, you know, Steve's interaction with Robin, and then his interaction with Dustin, because it's them
And
the
then
whole
Max
time.
and Elle too at the same time.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I don't know how I would rank them. I don't know. I know 4 is number 1, but the rest of them get fuzzy.
Yeah,
So.
I kind of want all of them to be number 1. I feel like they're all sort of equal for me. But if a gun was held in my head, I would choose 4 as number 1.
Yeah, I know they may have to shoot me if I like have to rank the other ones, because I would struggle. But 4 is number 1.
And I think it came together pretty well. I think the other reason I like 4 so much is because of the intricacy of this story and how deep seated this storyline goes.
Yeah.
And I think they tied it together, and it wasn't like it ended on kind of a cliffhanger, but they still wrapped up a certain part. So that it's not like you're desperately thinking, oh no, I have to wait to find out what happened. No, we know what happened. It's just what's going to happen that we're uncertain of. And so I think it came together really, really well.
I'm not ready for it to end.
No. And we do get one more season. So let's talk what we know so far. And what we know so far is obviously Vecna is not gone.
No.
We know that he's gonna be back. I kind of hope we get more of Henry, because I love Jamie Campbell Power.
Mhm.
And he's just fun. He's just dynamic to watch on screen. So I hope we get more of that. We do know, I read an article where the Duffy brothers said that season 5 is going to start off already in the middle of action. So it should move a little faster, as opposed to the other ones where we get this build up and we're starting to figure out what's going on. We're going to be in the thick of it when it starts, according to that article. So we know
kind of a bummer for me, because that initial like setting stuff up is where I feel like we get a lot of our funny scenes, and like
what I'm thinking is what they meant, because when we end season 4, we see her standing on the hill looking at it. So I think what we're going to start on season 5 is them continuing on right into go fight.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to miss anything per se. I think it's just going to continue right through.
Yeah.
Because it's not like, what are they going to do? Just go home and just, you know, watch TV, read a book, start the next scene. Yeah, like you gotta kind of pick it up from there. There's no transition spot.
And I don't know if this is what happens in there, but it's in my head that the last thing we see of Elle is almost like a deep sigh. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if I just put that in there on my own, or if she really just looked at the cloud and was like,
really have. I mean, the girl wants just a minute to like breathe and like take a rest.
Yeah,
she could not catch a break
already. I'm just so curious to see how they're going to resolve everything, because you have this battle between the Upside Down and our world. You know what? I mean, obviously, common sense would lead you to believe, oh, they finally, vanquish Vecna and the whole 9 yards. But like, how are they going to do all of that? Like,
it's got to be 11 somehow. But I think the trick is that I don't think it's going to be 11 on her own. I think 11 is going to need every single people in her posse to do their part, and they're going to do it because that's what they do well. And I think too that they talked in season 4 about how Vecna was the general for the smoke monsters army. It's the other way around.
Yeah, he controlled the mind flayer. Like he was the one that was controlling all of these evils. Yeah, he attached himself to,
and that's why they was able to have that connection between the Upside Down and the real world, because Vecna had that connection between the two. So we know that's something that's going to play into next season somehow, because we know that he's the one who controls everything. He told 11, "You haven't won yet." But obviously 11's like, "Yes, I did," and kicked him where it hurt. So that, and I think that Max somehow is going to be pivotal to season 5. I think.
Yeah. I think so too. I think the fact that 11 went looking for her and couldn't find her, I think that's not saying anything one way or the other.
Oh yeah, because it was when she was in the hospital bed sitting right next to her, right?
Yeah, because when she got to town, she didn't know what had happened to Max. So I don't know if she lost the connection whenever she died for that moment.
Maybe she didn't want anybody else to know her involvement in that moment.
Yeah, but Elle's not exactly a good liar. So like, I can't imagine her.
Friends don't lie. Friends
no
don't
one's asking her though.
She wouldn't tell them.
But she almost played like what happened. I don't know. I took it as, I can't imagine like Elle like playing it off like that. Like, I think she really didn't know exactly what happened.
Because I don't think she said no and went to her, but I mean, Elle's never brought anyone back from the dead before. She didn't know what she's doing. She didn't know if that was going to work.
Right.
But I think somehow Max's life is tied to Elle's now.
Maybe.
And maybe that's why she couldn't remember the incident, because wherever Max is, the awareness of that situation is, well, 11's awareness of that situation is there too. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they're going to somehow find Max. She had trouble finding Max the first time. She's probably there somewhere, and that's going to be something climactic that happens in season 5.
Well, I don't know where I saw this or whatever, but I mean, since, Max essentially has no brain activity, what if because we know Vecna's not dead. I mean, he wasn't able to take her full body and kill her, but what if somehow he has her mind is attached to him somehow, and this is why she's brain dead, because maybe somehow it's still with him or something. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this is just, I have no idea.
Well, she was able to come back to herself though and talk to Lucas before she died for that moment.
But maybe when she died, he was able to, I don't know. I feel like it's got to be tied to Vecna somehow. And
it is, because I mean, her death opened up Hawkins to the Upside Down. So it has to be tied to him somehow.
And her brain, or her mind, her soul being with him kind of makes it an easy way, I think, to get it back once they get to him. I don't know.
What if 11 accidentally sent her there?
That's what I was just thinking.
11 sent Vecna, and so they don't literally show what happens. She's just no, and she does her thing. What if that accidentally sends Max to the Upside Down the way she sent Vecna?
Could
that's
be
part of it. Retrieving Max from the Upside Down.
Yeah, because Vecna had weird desire for Max too. The way he hunted her and the way he talked to her was a little more intense and a little more in depth than what he did with Chrissy and that one kid and the other kid.
And it's probably the connection to 11, right? It wasn't just any person, it was 11's friend, and he has a history with 11, so maybe that's why.
And he even told Nancy, "Tell 11 I'm coming for her." So if he can attack that way, and I think Max is the only one who conjured Vecna pretty much, or taunted him to come get her. So there's that too, and the fact that they figured out how he worked, and so I think she's going to be a big key.
I think so too,
but I don't think we can make any assumptions of we can have predictions of I think this is going to be involved and this is going to be involved, but I don't think we can make any predictions beyond that, because who could have predicted anything that's happened so far?
No.
They definitely left it in a spot where really anything could happen, which I don't like, but at the same time I do. I have to know what happens, but glad that there are just so many different possibilities.
One thing I do think, and I mean, it has to do with what we were talking about earlier about Josh's theory. we made a point to mention that the Upside Down is in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that has to come back. Otherwise, I mean, was the only point of that so that Nancy didn't have her gun? I mean, I feel like there has to be more to it than that. So maybe there is a way. I hope that this is a way that maybe all the people that have been taken by Vecna, or, you know, the upside, like, you know, the mind flayer at the time we thought, which now we kind of know is Vecna, basically. Maybe all of those people still have a way. I mean, I think probably Bob is the only one. Bob and Alexi, I guess, are the only two that weren't killed by like
Well, I think.
Vecna.
Well, wasn't he devoured by well, was it the Demigorgon?
Yeah, but it was done in, I don't know. I guess maybe if there was, I
But
don't know.
it was on the side, it was in a lab.
Yeah, it was on this side. So I mean, I think he died in like on our side. But like if you think about, you know, everyone this season, Chrissy, Eddie, you know, Eddie was in the Upside Down, Chrissy was taken by Vecna, even going as far as to say Billy was possessed basically by Vecna when he was killed. Now I know he died on the other side too. I know I'm like the only Billy fan probably. And I'm not
I
like
like Billy because I like the actor now.
Well, here's my thing, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to explain my Billy love because I feel like I need to do this real quick.
He redeemed himself at the end.
He did. And I think he had such potential for a redemption arc, especially since, I mean, I know he's a racist and that part's really hard to get over because that's disgusting. But it was also sort of a product of like his father and like the way he was raised, and just seeing, obviously he was a sweet little boy with his mom and all of this, that I feel like, I don't know, and he sacrificed himself for Max. I feel like he had potential. And maybe Billy's, I mean, who knows? He was possessed by him. Maybe he could still be over there somehow. This is really far-fetched. And he could somehow like save Max if her mind is trapped over there, right? They focused very heavily on their relationship this season, which we had never done before.
Very true.
I feel like they have to use the fact that they essentially went back to the past when they went through Watergate.
Yes.
So there has to be a reason for that. They have to either be using that to help them battle whatever evil is.
Well, I mean, 1983 is when that gate opened. So that's why it's stuck in 1983, because that's when Vecna stopped working on that world and started working above.
So maybe like, and I think that's Josh's theory, right? That if somehow we defeat the Upside Down in 1983, that Hawkins will go back to 1983.
Everything that happened post 1983 is going to go back.
Can be undone, which I like and I don't like, because then that's also sort of a waste of the whole, I'm torn on that theory. I like it in the fact that we might get some of our favorite characters a second chance, but like I want them all to go back to that 1983 with the knowledge that they have, because like I need Nancy to not be the person that she was back then. I need her to be the Nancy that she is now, and Steve the same way. So
that would be a cool ending to end up right back where we started.
Oh no! Like
it would be cool, but I'd be really sad, because then I'd be like, oh, well, Steve is just back to that character that I hated at the beginning of the series.
Because they would all have that knowledge.
As long as they all had that
ended
knowledge.
where they started, but they were altered.
Yeah.
I think if they all ended in 1983, yes, with all the knowledge of everything that's happened. So it's like, okay, I've lived this life, but now I'm living that life. I think that would be really poetic. And I think that would be really
I would really love that.
There's also the whole theory,
a clean slate with wisdom, you know?
Yeah. Have you all seen the theory too, where it's just one like big Dungeons and Dragons game?
I have seen that. I'm gonna be mad if that's what it is. I will be so upset.
Yeah, that's not a good one.
At the end of it, like, it's present day, it's like 2022, and they're all like, you know, present day, and that was the end of the game. That was the longest match we've ever had.
I love that it's just those four guys.
That scene in season 1 where Dustin is talking about the Demigorgon, and he's saying, or the Mind Flayer, or whatever he's talking about in the kitchen of the buyers, and he's telling them how it works. Like, well, how do we attack it? And he's like, I don't know, man. This is all fictional.
I mean, I don't know. It's just funny. I mean, I guess it's all possible because everything they've given a name to has been something that's been in the Dungeons and Dragons game.
If that's brought back at the very final scene of season 5, and it's just Dustin breaking that third wall and saying, I don't know, man, it's all fictional, I would be satisfied.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be satisfied, but it would make me laugh.
I don't think I'm going to be disappointed with how the show ends.
No.
Whatever they're going to do, I think is going to be amazing.
I mean, they have a good track record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to say about what they think is to come? Or, I mean, I just want Eddie back. I just want Eddie back.
I need Eddie to come back because him, Dustin, and Steve, we just did not get enough of that. So
take a moment to imagine the looks on Dustin and Steve's face if Eddie comes walking up to them.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
We need that. That is what we need. And if the 1983 theory happens, then maybe they can walk up to him when he's actually supposed to be graduating, actually help him graduate. Oh, that would be so sweet. Yeah. Put everything right together. Oh,
that would be. Maureen's gonna cry again.
This was a really rough podcast for Maureen.
Maureen,
Eddie, so much.
So emotional.
Oh my god!
I didn't cry at all.
If we ever get to interview Joseph Quinn, I'm gonna have to tell him to go watch this episode and see how emotional you are over him. Or I'm just gonna bring it up when we're talking to him. That you're emotional.
If we interview him, do not talk about his death.
I think we have to.
You can excuse Maureen and then talk about it, and then she can come back on.
Maureen is too sensitive to hear the subject matter, Joseph. She will be back in a few moments.
Oh.
Okay, I can't believe I'm crying over just him coming back. That's
you okay?
I can believe it. Cancer. I can believe it. Don't worry.
I can believe it. I just watched all 3 Pitch Perfects the other day. So all right, so is there anything else we want to say about these characters or what's to come? I mean, none of us really have a clue, but
no,
fun to think. Sure. Mostly because I'm real sad it's over right now and I have to wait more. So I miss it because every night for a week, my husband binge watches slow. Every night for a week or two, that Stranger Things theme song, I loved hearing it and I don't hear it anymore and it makes me sad.
Sorry, just watch it again.
I don't know that I can do that either.
Well, you don't have to wait on him. You could fly through it in no time.
Have you seen me sob over Eddie? I don't think I have the emotional capacity to do that again.
Just listen to the soundtrack on repeat. You'll be okay.
I was in my doctor's office today and I was singing Kate Bush. And Dave was like, what's that? I'm like, are you serious? What do you mean, what's that? It's only the main song they played over the last 3 seasons of Stranger Things.
That one and The Never Ending Story are the 2 main songs.
I love that they put that in there. That it's one of my favorite things. Susie, we didn't talk about Susie this episode. That's okay though.
Oh,
maybe we'll talk about her next time.
Her family was crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was very confused.
I know we didn't even talk about Eden. I liked that. I liked her.
Are we doing a character episode or something like that? Like the top 10 characters,
top 10 is next,
honorable mentions or something like that.
Yeah, we have to do that. Make it honorable. Okay, so that wraps up I know this is going to be a long episode for you guys to listen to, but if you are Stranger Things fans, I mean, you're not going to mind. These are things you have to understand. We needed to talk about this stuff. We need to get it out of our system. Yes. And it has not left me satisfied at all.
I could talk for
I just feel like I need more.
If I wasn't sleepy, we could keep going.
So there is going to be another Stranger Things episode coming out this season. By the way, we are in our season 3. So you will find another Stranger Things episode coming out soon. That's about our characters. Our next episode is going to be on the Vampire Diaries and Originals characters. We're going to do a character discussion on them. So stay tuned for that on Wednesday. And again, if you did not remember from probably 2 hours ago when we mentioned it in the first place, we have a Stranger Things group on Facebook. So it's Stranger Things Hawkins Family Fan Club. Come over and join that. Talk to us about your theories or the things you notice. We have Eve here who is watching. She said it was much easier to rewatch because she understood things. So did any of you do that and notice little things that we didn't notice or that, you don't think anybody else did? Talk to us in our Stranger Things group about that. We want to hear about it. And we'll see you in a week or in a couple days, whichever comes first. Bye, guys.
Bye. Loving our content? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to share our podcast with your family and friends. We want to continue the conversation with you. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok under Fandom Family Chats or one of our ever-growing Facebook groups by searching Family Fan Club. We've also launched a website, Family Fan Club 2021 at Wixsite.com. You can email us there and keep checking it for announcements and merch coming soon. And of course, be sure to tune in every week for new episodes discussing all your favorite shows.